There are very few games this long that can keep me hooked the entire time. I think most people know what a flow state is, but just in case, the term is often used to describe a feeling of complete immersion. AKA it means locking the hell in and feeling like nothing else in life matters other than the game that you're playing. Nearly every video game ever created strives to get the player into some form of a flow state. Some achieve this goal way better than others. For example, many multiplayer games do a great job of this. I've played hundreds of hours of games like Call of Duty and Heroes of the Storm in my days. Within minutes you'll have that complete tunnel vision feeling and nothing else in the world matters. However, single player games also strive to achieve a flow state. I feel that it's much more difficult for a single player game to be fully immersive. Multiplayer games like the ones I've mentioned typically have some kind of endless grind and progression system to them, which purports that just one more game feeling while making players focus on achieving whatever arbitrary goals they've made for themselves. Many multiplayer games also come with a social aspect. If your friend group is on some game all day, all week, or all year, you'll be inclined to get on it and play with them constantly. Single player games can very easily just be picked up and put down without anybody else knowing it. It feels like there's less obligation to play a single player game. Although it may seem harder for a single player game to achieve a flow state, some games still manage to do it incredibly well. My best example of a game with an inescapable flow state is Persona 4 Golden. I was one of 5 people who owned a Vita, and this was a must-have title for the system back when it was out. I had no idea how phenomenal the game was, and I just picked it up on recommendation. Primarily, I played it the summer before my senior year in high school, and I used to log insane amounts of hours per day on the game. I'm talking 10 to 12 or even more hours per day, just straight up blasting through this masterpiece. In October of 2015, I finally finished it, at least to some extent. Later on in the video, I will detail how I messed up pretty badly and did not achieve the ending that I ultimately wanted. For the time being though, I had put tons of hours into the game, got a somewhat satisfying ending, and called it complete. I'm not sure when I would have decided to replay Persona 4 if it weren't for the possibility of doing a video on it and sharing my love for the game with you all. Persona 4 seemed like a great potential video, and so I hopped in, and then played the game for over 11 hours within the first day. No single player game has ever sucked me in like Persona 4, and I believe it to be one of the finest examples of a game that creates an amazing flow state for the player. The game gradually, and I mean very gradually, introduces us to its core mechanics. We're thrust into a quaint rural town of Inaba where we are to attend a new school and make new friends while being supervised by our uncle Ryotaro Dojima and living alongside his daughter Nanako. We have a benign encounter with the gas station attendant who welcomes us to the town as well. Since we are exhausted though, we decide to head back to Dojima's house after this. From here, the story unfolds with some alarming news regarding some recent murders in town and potentially associated foggy weather. There's a rumor going around that if you look at a TV that is off at midnight when it rains, you'll see your soulmate. Little do we know at this time, the figure there is actually the next target for the murderer. Things really start to hit the fan when our friend and classmate Yukiko is targeted. However, since we are the chosen one or something like that, we have the ability to go inside of the TVs, go into this whole new world that is created in there, and save those who are trapped. So we gather up our new friends Yosuke and Chie, and they are required to encounter their true selves and get their own personas. So here a shadow of themselves which exposes their insecurities attempts to kill them once they resist the truth. Once we defeat these shadows, our classmates do get their own personas and are now able to fight in battle alongside us. Alright, you got all that so far? Because that's just the very beginning of the main plot line, and I've even left some stuff out for brevity's sake. We still have to explain social links, our own personal attributes, side quests, and a whole bunch of other stuff. This game goes way deep. There is literally always something to be doing or looking forward to, and that's the true foundation for how addicting and enticing this game really is. So yeah, to get to the point where we actually enter Yukiko's castle and go save her, that's like 5 hours into the game. Most games I've covered on this channel can be beaten multiple times over in the span of 5 hours, but not here. You know this game is incredible because it has an immense amount of story and talking, yet I still love it. I have claimed for well over a year on this channel that I cannot stand story and talking in games and that I just want to play Mega Man X and just blast through the game. Well, I'm a bit more open to text and stuff during RPGs because I know what I'm getting into. Persona still pushes the limit for me, but I'm here for all of it. During our days outside of fighting shadows and dungeons, there are a number of options for us. The game also slowly builds them up. We're not just completely thrown into this immense world, and that's another aspect of the game that's so important. It gets you used to managing just 2 social links after school and making a bit of a decision between the 2 of them. Then it adds another, and then another,
and another one, and another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. There was like 9 million fucking
social links. You get to then take on part-time jobs, there's side quests, there's gardening. All these things need to be carefully balanced because the game functions on an actual calendar with real deadlines. So yes, the quicker you can get through dungeons and spend less time in the TV world, the more time you have for everything else. So there's certainly an incentive to finishing dungeons fast. However, you are absolutely required to spend some time in the TV world, especially on your first playthrough. Otherwise, you might be severely underleveled and get wrecked by your next boss. You'll see I had a particularly memorable instance of this happening soon. The social links are honestly the bread and butter of this game for me. I love balancing all these different friendships and such. You get to see so many other parts of the game and extra insight into certain characters. Some of the storylines do become particularly revealing and present some very challenging scenarios. For example, learning that Nanako's mother was killed in a hit-and-run incident and seeing how it impacts the family is absolutely brutal and really shines light on the whole story. Nanako and Dojima both have social links available at night, which is unlike the vast majority of the rest of them, so you will be spending a lot of your nights uncovering this dark plotline. Ranking up your social links is also far from just fun or to experience more of the story. You become stronger in battle by having strong social links as well. So there's an incentive beyond just enjoying the plot to maximize as many social links as you can. For example, if you're looking to create a new persona that is of the Priestess Arcana, you should focus on your social link with Yukiko because then you'll get a boost in experience when you fuse that persona. Is that confusing? Well, I haven't explained it much. So, this game is kinda like Pokemon, but that's an injustice because the game that Persona is actually a spin-off of, Shin Megami Tensei, came out way before Pokemon. And honestly, with Nintendo suing companies for copying Pokemon, they should get sued by Atlas for copying Shin Megami Tensei 30 years ago, but I digress. Shadows have an associated arcana that are based on tarot cards. So those who are of the Priestess Arcana would get a boost from Yukiko's social link because her social link is also of the Priestess Arcana, and so that happens when you fuse new personas of that Arcana. Shadows also have specific types of moves that they use, and they have weaknesses and resistances, typically of certain elements. Sounds like Pokemon copied this, doesn't it? Well, in mainline SMT games, you have to recruit the demons. Persona is supposed to be the more accessible game, and so you just acquire new demons by finding them during shuffle time, which occurs after battle. Of course, that changed in Persona 5, but we're not talking about that yet. You can store a number of demons, which increases as you level up. As you level up, you can recruit and fuse stronger demons as well. Yeah, so what makes this game actually better than Pokemon is the ability to create your own demons freely through the fusion process instead of just catching stuff. I know Pokemon has breeding, but you can easily get through entire Pokemon games without breeding. Meanwhile, fusion is the crux of Persona. The whole fusion system is very complex and I don't even really have a great understanding of it, and I'll spare you a deep explanation of it. With everything I've explained so far, do you see the rabbit holes that I'm going down? Even just sitting here writing this script, one thing leads to another and my mind goes on absolute overdrive just describing this game. Now imagine those chains of thought constantly running through your brain with every single decision you make in game. That right there is what creates the true addiction to Persona 4, and we're not even past the first boss yet. The dungeons and combat are fun, sure, but I'm usually itching to get back outside and continue ranking up my social links and building my stats. Outside of everything I've discussed, we also have our own attributes to worry about. Knowledge, expression, understanding, courage, and diligence. How is all that defined? I have no idea, but you need certain levels of each to advance some social links past a specific rank, pick certain answers during cutscenes, and most importantly to finish the big beef bowl at Aya. Since the attributes affect social links, you can see the connection. You need high social links to create better demons. You need high attributes to advance your social links, and you raise your attributes by being smart and kind and all that good stuff. Everything in the game is connected some way. Typically, games take me a little bit of time to warm up to them, and then I become fully dedicated. Not Persona 4. The first time I played it 10 years ago, I remember being instantly hooked, and it's the same deal here today. As you progress the game, more and more pieces are added, and you have to manage your time extremely well. There are certain social links that can only begin or be completed within specific time frames. For example, we can start Marie's social link pretty early in the game, but we cannot progress past rank 4 until the end of July. However, then we have the deadline of needing to finish out and max out her social link by December. Every character is not just freely available every day. These people have schedules after all, and you aren't the center of the universe. For example, Marie is not available all that often, so you need to hang out with her when you see the little exclamation mark above her head, which means that she's available. That's just one social link. After school, you'll walk out of your classroom and there will be so many people that you can choose to hang out with on any given day. So here's my advice on some folks to prioritize. In battle, I only really ever use the first party that you're given, and that's the hero, Yosuke, Chie, and Yukiko. Everyone else that gets added later on, I didn't bother, but I know many would swap Chie for Kanji for the physical damage output. With that being said, your party members should absolutely become a priority when focusing on social links because they get in-game bonuses for doing so. You'll see as you rank up that they can perform extra attacks and help out more. Even better though is that their personas learn extra entire moves just from ranking up social links. And get this, they're also really helpful. Unlocking something like Deikaja for Yosuke this early in the game is amazing. If you're not familiar, Deikaja removes any stat buffs that the enemy may have given themselves. The counterpart move is Dekunda, which removes any debuffs that may have been cast on your party. Both moves are extremely useful and can help level an unfair playing field. So just getting Deikaja handed to you because you hung out with your buddy a few times is pretty wild. Another social link you'll want to prioritize early on, at least in my sake I find it useful, is the Fox. The Fox is a special social link and does not function like the others. This is essentially a way the game gets you to do more of the side quests. You'll be given a task by the Fox who takes them from this shrine in town. Once you fulfill the quest, which can take multiple days, you can come back to the Fox. You hang out with your pet or whatever for a little bit, and then it passes time and you rank up like normal. The incentive for all this is that the Fox is actually a soft member of your party when fighting inside the TV world. Yeah, he actually does come in there with you, and his ability is useful and it can allow you to finish entire dungeons in one day. If you have the money, you can pay him to heal your party. You'll notice that it's not really HP that's your issue, but it's rather the SP depleting, which limits your ability to finish dungeons in a day. And there's not a ton of items to restore SP, especially not early on, so it's really nice to have the Fox if you can afford it. A couple other social links that you'll want to prioritize. Again, I had mentioned Marie earlier. You definitely want to max out her social link if you're playing Golden. You also for sure want to max out Dojima and Nanako. As I said, they are both available at night, so they're kind of easy to rank up because you don't have a ton else to do at night. And then you absolutely need to get Adachi's social link as far as you can progress it. Anyways, back to the concept of SP and SP restoring. I like to save a lot of the SP restoring items that we get in dungeons, especially the good ones that restore like all or half of your SP. You can buy soda cans from the vending machines in town, but they only restore a few points each. However, paying the Fox to heal you negates the worries of consuming SP items completely, and you can save them for later on. The problem is that if you leave the Fox at a low rank, he's going to charge you more than the value of a new car just for some healing. I know some folks don't find this social link all that useful, but I do feel like it helped me confidently get through a number of dungeons in a single day. Did you think we were done adding mechanics to this game yet? No, of course not. Another way you can sort of buy SP items is through gardening. Nanako decides that you two should fix up the side yard, and you can then plant seeds, maintain the garden, and harvest. Here you can also get some SP restoring items and some other really good ones too. So with all these mechanics in place, some things will inevitably just take a back burner in certain parts of the game. Earlier on, I focused much more on building social links with my party members than I am on something like gardening. In the very early game, it'll also be beneficial to raise your attributes so that you can take jobs which lead to higher pay and also have social links tied to the job. The daycare and hospital jobs are incredibly productive ways to spend your time. It's quite literally like getting paid to hang out with people who I guess you consider friends. Though they are treated like every other social link just in terms of progression and stuff, these definitely are not the same in nature as those like with Yukiko or Chie or Yosuke. They're not your classmates, but it's a social link. There are those social links with irregularities and those that cannot be ranked up all the way yourself. I've already discussed the Fox, and then Adachi is a prime example of another one. Your uncle's doofy sidekick in crime fighting has specific dates where he shows up, and the player can only progress his social rank to 6 before certain events take place. Stay tuned for what those events are. With all that being said, I frickin' love this game. Look, I'll be completely honest with you. I do enjoy RPGs, and I had a big phase in my life where they were nearly all that I played. However, that has changed since I became an adult and wanted faster games and more co-op stuff to play with my girlfriend. I would say that now I'm mostly like lukewarm on RPGs, though I've gotten back into them a little bit. I need them to be really, really good for me to care. Otherwise, there are absolutely a lot of times where RPGs feel like a chore for me. Persona 4 is the only RPG that I genuinely could say I feel addicted to. The whole just one more day mentality runs so strong here. You've got all this stuff you need to get done and focus on. You're telling me I need to go to bed or do the dishes in real life? Absolutely not. I need to go save my friends and find the killer. Despite my gushing over this game, there are still some drawbacks. No game is perfect after all. I'm not sure why they felt the need to have a literal play-by-play announcer in this game, but we do have one.
You knocked it down! Good idea, Yuki-chan! 4 enemies! You gotta hang in there! Amazing, Sensei! You beat 2 of them! Yosuke's completely blown his stack! Woohoo, Chie-chan! That's
Wake
why! Yuki-chan's in danger! Help! Someone!
There's quite literally nothing that Teddy offers as this game's announcer other than pure suffering. However, our third dungeon does change all that. We only fight Rize's shadow for about 2/3 of its HP, and then Teddy has a mental breakdown and then he takes over as the boss fight. So yeah, perhaps one of the bigger twists, at least this early on, is that Teddy becomes a party member and, thankfully, is not the play-by-play announcer for the entire game. Rize's announcing is much easier on the ears, and oh yeah, she actually does help you with some bonuses, unlike the useless bear. Maybe one of the stranger twists in the game is that after Teddy's awakening, he actually finds a way out of the shadow world, which is a little unexpected. The gang is very concerned given that he's hollow inside. Apparently though, Teddy grew a human inside of his bear suit after he faced his true self. It's a strange plotline and it's a little bit unexplained because, well, Teddy's just kind of an anomaly anyway, but whatever. Of course, since Teddy is a playable party member, he does also have a social link, but here's the problem, it's an automatic one. This makes him unusable as a party member for me generally. Sure, it'll be maxed out by the end no matter what, but I have my team up in the 8 to 9 range when he's at 2, and there's nothing we can really do about it at this point. No matter what though, you're going to get to a point where you'll get stuck with a little grinding. At least that's how I felt. By the time I got to Kanji's boss without any grinding, I was definitely a bit underleveled. Sure, I could hold my own for a while. After a brutal 45-minute battle, I ended up having to fold. Not my favorite moment in this playthrough, but nothing a little grind can't fix. Thankfully, I was able to cruise through Rize's dungeon after grinding for Kanji's. However, the next dungeon required more grinding to get a specific persona that is very helpful, which I'll get to in a little bit. We have one good misdirection here at a false ending with Mitsuo's whole segment. One false ending like this is great, and this game is over like 60 hours. Compare that to a game like Tearaway being 8 hours with like 5 false endings, but I digress, whatever. Go watch that video if you want that full rant. Even though this game takes some grinding, it does not feel completely like a chore, which is quite an accomplishment. Literally nothing feels like a pure chore in this game, which is really nice. Grinding does mean that you can find more personas through shuffle time, which can help you then complete Margaret's social link, which requires specific fusions, and that can ultimately help you fuse better personas of her arcana for the future. Also, having more personas on hand is important for your interactions with your friends. If you have a persona of their arcana while hanging out with them, it'll increase the social link faster. If you want to get specific personas, you do have to pay for them to summon them. Otherwise, if you just find them through shuffle time while grinding, then bada bing, you have it for free. So despite some flaws, what makes it all so great is that literally everything is connected in this game to some other element. Almost nothing serves an isolated purpose, and so you're always multitasking and knocking out 2 to 3 birds with one stone every single step of the way. By the time you secure Mitsuo, you're probably around 30 hours into the game. Guess what? Not even halfway there. However, at this point, so much has developed, and we are really beginning to feel like some progress is happening. All that time spent grinding and social linking and building up our attributes is starting to pay off a little bit. One of the most apparent payoffs is the persona that I was able to fuse for the Shadow Mitsuo fight, Black Frost. We aren't just doing little triangle or normal fusions anymore, no. He's one of the few demons in the game that requires a pentagon fusion. That's right, 5 demons need to be fused at once to make him. But holy smokes, he is incredible and he is so worth it, especially at this point in the game. He has a full drain on ice and fire, he's immune to dark, and has no weaknesses. Also, the personas required to fuse him are by no means hard to find. I was being dumb in the early game and didn't pick up every persona that I saw, so I had to fuse a ghoul, but that's okay, it wasn't very costly. If you're in a pickle with fusion, money can always buy you happiness, pretty much. Although Black Frost requires a heaping pentagon fusion, there's even a few personas in the entire game that require 6 to fuse, so it's a hexagon fusion. We'll discuss that a little more down the line, but understand that yes, the endgame personas that we'll be using are generally pentagon or hexagon fusions. As the story continues, we get a sense of security in the game's summer festivities. You get a little break from all the pain. Everything feels right in the world, but if you aren't naive, you know this can't possibly last too long. We still have one more party member to acquire after all. The mysterious and somewhat arrogant detective Naoto Shirogane is the next victim. At this point, you know what the drill is. Since this is the last dungeon before some real shit hits the fan, it's maybe the most forgettable one in the entire game. And that's not a knock on Naoto's character at all, she's actually one of my favorites. It's just that we are on the precipice of so much that this run-of-the-mill rescue mission can easily slip from memory, and I had very little memories of this dungeon, and especially of the boss. There's an easy spot to abuse a chest for grinding here at least. On the 6th floor, it has a fixed layout, so you can immediately run left and snag a quick chest here. It's a good way to stock up on items, sure, but shadows can also jump out of the box. More importantly, gold hands can jump out of the box. And this makes it a solid spot for potential grinding, and I did come back here after the fact before the next dungeon and took care of some leveling up. Since I have the Fox social link so high at this point, and money does become less and less of an issue as you progress, I've been able to clear dungeons in one day fairly easily now. It's been no exception here, and I've had ample time for social linking after dungeons. In fact, I've had so much time now that all my personal attributes are maxed out, most of the important social links are done, and honestly I've had some nights in the game with legitimately nothing to do other than to go fishing. With my personal stats maxed, I'm able to finish that dang beef bowl at Aya, and I can take the last job, the tutor. This kid's mom pays bank, and he's one of the last social links I needed to start. It's cool getting into something completely new at this point in the game since you are so deep generally with everyone else. Once we get to November, it really hits the fan, and the game truly starts. We've received some cryptic warning messages about rescuing people, we get an ominous cutscene of who can only be the killer at this point, and then it happens.
There's been a kidnapping. Get your men on it immediately. Start with checkpoints.
Checkpoints?
Quit griping and get to it! The victim's a 7-year-old girl. My daughter!
Nanako's kidnapping is when the game really kicks it into high gear. Something we've tried to avoid this entire time is Dojima figuring out exactly what our involvement in these cases has been. He's always been suspicious of us, and we've kind of just laid low, but now we have no choice but to face it. You can try all you want to explain it to him, but he will not buy it and just call you crazy. Nanako's dungeon is called Heaven because that's where her mom is, and she wants to see her again. It's very heavy hitting, and it's a little bit difficult, honestly, to listen to and read. But at least we got an incredible song to go with the dungeon. I was able to dog walk the whole thing since I did some grinding beforehand and had a persona that blocked physical and had no weaknesses, so it wasn't particularly a challenge, but it's definitely a tough part in the game to watch. So now it's time to face the killer. The unexpected twist is that the delivery man, who is pretty much unmentioned up until this point, was behind it all along. He has Nanako in his grasp and we need to intervene quickly. What happens next is certainly a fairly disturbing cutscene. This boss can be challenging if you're not prepared for him to control your other characters. I remember struggling a lot my first time through the game, but now I know what I'm doing a little bit more. So with that, we have defeated Namatame's shadow and rescued Nanako. Everything relating to Nanako from this point on is very emotional. I'll emphasize how this is the first M-rated game I've ever covered on the channel, and it's way more serious than the other stuff I've talked about. Even though I know what happens, I was still getting some legitimate butterflies in my stomach playing through these parts of the game. At this point, the game has 100% lured us in, gotten us into this flow state, and now we absolutely cannot leave, and we are going to get fully hooked on the remaining bits of the story. So up until this point, you know, the story's good, absolutely, but it kicks into high gear and becomes amazing moving forward. The massive takeover of the story from this point on ensures that you're not going to get bored from repeating the same loop of person we don't know gets kidnapped, rescue them, increase social links. I would say the game knows exactly when to throw you off the loop and let the story take over at the perfect time. We get our normal time to increase social links and all that yada yada before things start to unfold. The fog this time, though, doesn't go away. Remember all that fun music that would play as you walk around class and town? Well, forget about it, because now we just have this. Back home, it's even more depressing. Nanako and Dojima are in the hospital, so hopefully you ranked up their social links beforehand because you won't have any chances to do so here. We also just get this somber song, and nobody welcomes us home anymore. The game reminds us that we've done everything we could, but was it enough? At this point you might feel like you've failed despite kicking so much ass for about 40 hours of gameplay. Well, on December 3rd, you can actually mess everything up. We finally get to confront Namatame, but he's completely unstable. In a fit of rage, Yosuke wants you to push him into the TV and end it all. If you agree to this, then your blind rage gets you a bad ending, because Namatame is actually not the killer. Has he done some horrible things? Absolutely, but he isn't the real culprit. You need to tell your group to calm down and that something isn't right. The next day, we are shockingly able to get some information out of Namatame. He gives us everything, actually, and you can truly decipher that he was acting mostly out of ignorance with a dash of insanity. He was not aware of how horrific the TV world is, and he truly did believe that he was saving those who he kidnapped. Now that leaves us to identify the real culprit. So who could it be? We have a very serious dinner at good old Aya with our friends. Little do they know, I can finish the rainy day special. Naoto steps outside for some fresh air. We follow, and then next is Yosuke. As the three of us deliberate on the whole situation, we are met with our biggest decision in the entire game. Who is the true killer? This scene of the three of you outside in the cold chatting is one of the most memorable parts in the entire game. A lot of this game had left my mind in the 10-year span that I had between playthroughs, but of course I remembered this scene. So, our options are mostly our friends, and you're insane if you thought to pick Nanako, and I swear they throw her in there just as a joke. But no, the only person who truly fits the bill is Toru Adachi. He's on the inside, appears to be innocent, but has just enough power to cover up his crimes. You also start to then recall some moments where he was very suspicious throughout the game. However, it's in this very moment that the game gives you the opportunity for the most fucked up ending in the whole game, the accomplice option. You can choose to protect Adachi and refuse to tell your friends anything in this moment. Because you don't speak up, they never solve the case, and Namatame is believed to be the killer, despite the fact that you know he's not. I'm not showing you this ending, because I'm not doing it. Do I have a save right at this very moment, and I could go back and do it and record it and show it to you, or just show you someone else's gameplay off YouTube? Yes, but I'm not putting anyone through this ending. It's terrible. Go watch it for yourself. In this ending, you actually go and destroy the one piece of evidence that incriminates Adachi, and you leave, betraying everything you've done and stood for this entire time. You, good sir, are a complete monster. Anyways, we're not doing it. Like I said, we're just not doing it. We're doing things the way we're supposed to. You don't even get an achievement for doing the bad endings, to the best of my knowledge, because, I mean, why should you? You don't deserve shit for doing that. No, instead we're going to do things the right way. We rat out Adachi to our friend group and start to build the case against him. Things fall into place pretty quickly here now, as he's very suspicious and struggles to cover up his guilt. We learn that yes, Adachi does have the ability to enter the TV, and he did manipulate Namatame into kidnapping people and thinking he was saving them. It's all being exposed now, and we need to chase down Adachi. There's a crucial moment here since we progressed Adachi's social link as far as we could. We can go back and confront him ourselves, thus throwing out everything we thought positively about the guy. The Jester social link actually shatters and transforms into the Hunger social link. Therefore, the only way to max out Jester is to pick the accomplice ending that I refuse to show you. Adachi has his own dungeon, but this time social linking and stuff is done backwards. You need to prepare first instead of just going and fighting him on December 7th. I didn't try it, but I've read that beating him early will actually skip time forward and you'll miss all the social linking in December. Why the game just changes the rules on us like that is beyond me, and if I didn't read that, I'd have been pissed, because I would have definitely just gone and fought him on December 7th immediately, like I have with every other dungeon in the game. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me there. But anyways, Adachi's dungeon can easily be the last one you fight, and you'll still get a good ending. This is actually the path I took the first time I played the game. There's more to the game, 2 more dungeons if you're playing Golden actually, but I did not do either my first time. Instead, I made it to the actual final boss and got my ass kicked. I kind of realized I was in a situation where I needed to make a lot of changes and do a lot of grinding. Ultimately, I just said, you know what, I've seen enough of the game, and so screw it. So that's how the unfinished business situation was created here. I tried to do New Game Plus after that and do things the right way, but at that point I was moving on. Then Persona 5 came out, and years went by. Eventually I sold off my Vita, and so no, I never truly finished Golden, but at least it's so widely available now on Steam. So back to Adachi's dungeon. There's some weird mechanics here where there's like 2 different areas and we need to complete one before finishing the other. Otherwise, you know the drill by now. Before we go fight Adachi, it's time for some endgame level fusions. The two personas that I'm rocking for the rest of this run are Trumpeter and Yoshitsune. If you know the game well, you know this is a very common strategy and these are two very strong personas, but I had never been so overpowered. Yoshitsune is ridiculous when it learns the ability called Hasao Tobi, which I'm sure I'm saying it wrong, but whatever. It's the one where you hit everyone a ton of times and you just win. I swear the game trolls us by saying it's light physical damage. Hitting 8 times is just insane. The first couple times that you cast the move, you will be bewildered by how ridiculous it looks to hit everyone so much. So basically the strategy for me is to use Trumpeter for things like Debilitate and other buffs and debuffs. Then you switch to Yoshitsune, do a power charge, and then use Hasao Tobi. Rinse and repeat and you will annihilate every remaining boss in the game. Going into any normal battle then against Shadows and just starting off cold with Hasao Tobi on turn 1 is often a strategy that'll just wipe out everybody in one hit with 0 questions asked. I've never felt quite so broken in any RPG, so it was absolutely great to trounce the endgame here, especially since I struggled so much my first time playing the game 10 years ago because I didn't really know what I was doing. Back then it was my very first SMT game and I had no idea really what I was getting into. I didn't prioritize the right stuff at all, and later when I started researching the game, I did realize how many mistakes I made along the way because I wasn't using a whole lot of guides. I was just kind of playing it for what it was. But now I'm back with a much more defined strategy and some absolutely broken personas. So for the fight against Adachi though, yes I had Yoshitsune as a persona, but I didn't yet have the move Hasao Tobi, and so I had to rely on just the other extremely powerful moves that the two personas have. We do need to be careful though with our SP here, because once we beat Adachi it isn't over. Instead, this happens.
Of all the fog?
Indeed. I have come to put you all to the test and judge your worth.
Like we give a damn what you came for!
Let us begin.
This battle is my favorite one in the entire game, more than the real final boss. It's mostly amazing because of its theme. If you're unaware of the actual final boss, then you might truly believe that this is it, just like the in-game characters do. When you're sitting here strategizing your next turn and then the piano just comes in like this. Then the drums start going crazy with that open snare. Like, damn, this theme absolutely packs a punch. Once we defeat Amino-Sagiri, the fog lifts, in our world at least. Now the game gives us some legitimate moments of peace. Again, this can be your final boss if you opt for just the basic good ending instead of the true ending. You'll still get a sense of satisfaction here from this because Nanako does live and you have identified Adachi as the culprit. You've done things right for the most part. There is just one more layer that we need to uncover, but for now, we can celebrate. The game is actually starting to reward us now. Things are looking better as we get a very wholesome Christmas scene and celebrate New Year's Day with our friends. We finally have something going on in the game that isn't just pure tragedy. After our festivities, unfortunately Nanako and Dojima do need to go back for more medical care. They were only released for the holidays, so despite feeling like everything is back to normal, it still isn't quite there. Instead, what we get now is a brief period of time where Teddy actually stays with us. I guess we finally decided to give Yosuke and his family a break from the old menace. Living with Teddy is interesting. One of my favorite things to do here is prepare lunches with him since we get some extra scenes of the two of you cooking together. It's pretty wholesome. After a few days though, we do fall ill and we have to postpone a ski trip that our friends were dreaming up as a way to celebrate things being normal. What we get now is our bonus time for social linking. It is my understanding that the original game did not have any of what remains in this video other than the final area. Since it's the dead of winter, it's snowing, and when you go outside, instead of the normal peppy J-pop, we get this. The first time that you hear snowflakes is unreal. It's a huge shift in mood and tone from the rest of the game. I even knew it was coming, of course, since this is my second time playing the game, but still, the first day that Snowflakes plays is a genuinely special moment. Since this is the final stretch of preparations, you have a number of days to wrap up social links, make as much money as possible, and get all the equipment and items that you need. Don't forget, this isn't all just fun and games. Despite the joyous occasions, we have business still, and a lot of it actually. You have until February 5th to prepare. That's the last day for social linking. Since I knew my team members, I made sure to hang out with them one extra time past their maximum social link to get their final awakenings. With that, Yukiko has an insane move called Burning Petals. Yosuke has a great move that buffs and heals, and Chie gets a party-wide buff for all stats. It uses a ton of SP, but I did have a way to cut it in half. 75 SP for a party-wide buff of all stats is still a lot, but to get all that work done in one turn is nuts. And then of course I have myself with Hasotobi, so I don't know, does any of that really even matter? I'm so broken, so who really cares, right? With all that, I wasn't able to get done a lot of the less important side social links. So sorry, you won't be seeing the rank 10 scene for Ai Ebihara. I hope to someday do a New Game Plus and do a max social link run, but I believe it's actually impossible or nearly impossible to do a max social link run your first time. Some of these side characters though I had little interest in maxing out anyway. Instead, in my last days I was doing things like going to the movies and the hot springs to gain extra levels and ensure that all my moves were correct. Once we make it to February 5th, that is it. The game is nearly over at this point, however we still have some important moments to spend with our friends. Ultimately we do end up going on our ski trip. This is a crucial point in the game involving Marie. All throughout January, Margaret has been attempting to locate Marie for us because she has disappeared. Well, we found her. After getting lost during the ski trip, you end up in a cabin. The game pulls a funny and has an off-camera scuffle between you and your girl, and she talks about you going too deep or whatever. It's, you know, ha ha ha. What she's actually referring to is you sticking your hand in the TV and finding the location of the Hollow Forest. So that's right folks, it's time for the additional dungeon that was added to Golden, and from what I understand, everyone hates it. You don't get to use your own items or equipment, and you lose half your SP every battle. It's brutal for sure, but I was disgustingly powerful at this point, and I didn't really struggle with it, especially because a lot of my best moves are physical moves that don't rely on SP. What's important is that we finally uncover who Marie truly is, and then we have to save her. She's one of the Sagiri as well, and all that fog that was lifted has flown into her. Her reason for being here is actually to kill herself, which is extremely depressing, hence why the dungeon's music is so sad. After an intense battle, we are able to save her, and I did choose the romance option for her, and I believe that leads to some extra moments of her saying that she loves us here. Once we save her, it's on to Valentine's Day. Since I only did the romance option for her, I actually got the scene on Valentine's Day with just the bros. Marie comes to your house later in the day and gives us an interesting gift. Apparently it's delicious, but who knows. After Valentine's Day, that's pretty much it. We get one last interaction with our friends, then the camera pans out and there's a wholesome montage of the spring. Shortly after that, it's here, the final day of the game. We get to go around and say goodbye to anyone who we have a max social link with. So, for my case, unfortunately it isn't everyone. However, the most surprising scene in the entire game is the goodbye from Margaret. We actually get to steal that kiss. I picked that option as a joke thinking she was going to slap me, but the result was completely unexpected. Once we say goodbye, the game gives us the option to just leave and call it. That's what gets you the normal good ending. However, we're going for the proper finale here. There's still something missing here, and it's the conductor behind the entire tragedy. Sure, we've identified the killer, saved Nanako, all that good stuff. However, there's one piece left. It turns out that mundane interaction we had with the gas station attendant was actually extremely important. At the time, you'd have no idea. You think you're just tired from traveling. But we were actually interacting with the mastermind the entire time there. What's really bonkers is that throughout the game, you can see that attendant just chilling throughout a large portion of the entirety of your time in Inaba. We confront them, and after some pushing, they reveal themselves as Izanami. This is it. After thinking we had identified the culprit about 15 times prior, now we finally have our answer. It's time for one final dungeon, and then the true final boss. I was so overleveled at this point that the enemies were actually appearing small on the map, thus indicating that they were significantly weaker than me. Hasotobi carried hard through the entirety of the dungeon. The fight with Izanami was also pretty light work for me, which is wild because when I first played the game I couldn't finish it at all and just had to give up. Now I've done things properly and finished my unfinished business. As we deplete Izanami's health, she puts a curse on us that seems to knock us out for good. However, through the power of friendship, we get back on our feet and deliver a satisfying final blow. I can truly say that this is one of my favorite games of all time. It's somewhere very high in my personal top 5, and I can say for sure that it has overtaken Chrono Trigger as my favorite RPG. Also, yes, I do prefer this game to Persona 5. Don't get me wrong, Persona 5 is also an incredible game, but there are a number of things I like more about 4. That's a separate video though. Persona 4 has gripped me now 2 separate times in my life, unlike any other game. This game was also my gateway into the Shin Megami Tensei series, and I'm hoping to cover more SMT and more Persona in the future, but the games are damn long, so be patient. Overall, I'm glad that I got to replay Persona 4 and experience it almost like it was the first time again because of simply how long it's been. The 10-year gap in my playthroughs has not detracted from this game at all, and I'll gladly fire it up again to complete New Game Plus and do a maximum social link run. Before we go, I do still have a few other topics that I want to discuss about what makes this game so amazing. A major reason why Persona 4 is so gripping is absolutely because of its setting. I don't want to make too many comparisons to Persona 5 or Persona 3 in this video because then it would get out of hand, but both of those games have significantly more urban settings than Persona 4. Now, just for clarity's sake, I have lived and worked in some major cities, but those are major American cities, not Tokyo. Having a setting be largely based on Tokyo is not as relatable as something like the quiet town of Inaba. Sure, running around Tokyo in Persona 5 is absolutely awesome, and it makes you feel like you're experiencing such a vastly different life than your own. There's definitely some positives and benefits to that, but the quaint atmosphere of Inaba is far more relatable. The little main shopping area absolutely reminds me of the suburb that I grew up in. Having like 3 different spots that you're able to frequent and then later gaining access to a larger city is also reminiscent of my childhood. Ultimately, Inaba falls under the same category as places like Delfino Plaza for me. They are places that I've never been to in real life because they don't exist, but I feel like I've been there many times. That's always the mark of an iconic setting for me. Can I picture myself walking around out there? If so, then I would say I was immersed in the game, and truly did achieve a flow state. Next, the soundtrack. I could make an entire video about this game's soundtrack, maybe even 2. Persona games are absolutely known for some bangers, and 4 has some seriously catchy tunes. It's kind of surprising how well it works to have a theme like Reach Out to the Truth playing when you're battling shadows. The music's all cheery and peppy, meanwhile you're supposed to be in some legitimate danger, and you're battling all those nasty demons. Somehow, it totally works though. Generally, the game does have very upbeat music and helps keep you motivated to grind through those dungeons and progress the story. However, as you get deeper, of course, you're met with some vast shifts in tone and music. It's an incredible soundtrack in so many ways. Again, I'm not going to fully delve into it. since that would increase the video length by another hour or more. Just know that I listen to Persona music outside of the game constantly and have had many long conversations with other friends about the soundtracks. Before we wrap up, let's do the preservation thing. How does Persona 4 Golden stack up in our 3 pillars of preservation that I have discussed and established on this channel? On the physical media side of it, it's okay. The game was originally released on the Vita, so that's an immediate strike against it. At least there was still a physical copy, but still, not a very prevalent physical game because just not many people had a Vita. There's also some super rare limited edition for the Vita version as well, I believe, but of course I never had that. Thankfully, the game has been re-released on other consoles, but with very limited physical presence. I'm playing on Steam, so take out any possible physical media there. It's fine, it's expected, and I paid very little for the game anyway because it went on sale. I guess that's the benefit of using Steam. However, on consoles like the Switch, there is a physical copy, but it's done by Limited Run Games, and it's pricey online aftermarket. So the only easy physical copies of the game are the original game on PS2, and then the Vita version. Accessibility-wise, though, it's very good. If you don't care about owning the game physically, Persona 4 Golden has become extremely easy to play in at least some form. Lastly, in terms of stories and experiences, I've bonded with many people over this game and this series as a whole. Persona is all about making memories with your friends in the game, and it has also led to some real friendships for me. So in terms of experiences and storytelling, it has extremely high value. If you made it this far in the video, I truly do thank you. This was an absolute marathon. So be sure to leave a like on the video if this was something that you enjoyed. Remember when I used to make videos about the Mega Man games on NES that could be finished so quickly and the videos themselves were also easy as pie to make? It's quite the difference now here with Persona 4, and I like the way that this channel is evolving. So, liking the video lets me know that you are also down with this topic since it is so different from how things started. Don't get me wrong, I still like Mega Man, and I might talk about Mega Man games in the future again sometime. I still want to. I still aspire to talk about it. The thing is that I covered every single Mega Man game that I played as a kid, so it's all new territory for me now. With that though, I do have a few other videos about longer games on the channel as well. I had a similar unfinished business scenario with Pokemon Crystal, so be sure to check that one out. And so with that, I will see you next time.